In this video, I am going to be breaking down the fastest way that you can go from zero to $100,000 worth of business credit and working capital. And so I'm going to share with you 4 important keys that'll not just help you get approved for business credit, but also significantly cut down the length of time that it takes for you to get it. Now, spoiler alert, this video is specifically for you if you're looking to get access to real cash value credit lines. None of this store card stuff that you can only use specifically at that shop. So with that in, let's get right into it. Key number 1, the owner's personal credit is the bridge to getting access to capital. Because one of the questions that I often get is, Irv, if my LLC is a day old, can I get access to business credit lines? The answer is yes. The other question that I get is, Irv, if my business is 10 years old, I've never had a business credit card in my life, can I get access to business credit lines? And the answer to that is also yes. But here's the thing, I don't want you to shy away from having to use your own personal credit in order for you to get access to business credit cards, to business lines of credit. Here's why. The EIN and non-PG stuff that you're probably hearing about is not the true cash value credit that you're seeking to have. So let's define the difference. The EIN only type of credit lines means that you can only use those accounts at the stores. And so if I'm a business and let's say I go out to another business and they say, hey, we're going to extend you a line of credit to our shop, but the catch is you can only use that here. Even if I'm not personally guaranteeing, that's just not the type of credit line that I'm going to need, especially if I'm involved in real estate, especially if I need inventory, especially if I'm trying to run ads. Real cash value credit allows me to use those credit lines anywhere, whether I'm paying for ads, whether I'm covering payroll, or if I'm looking to scale and buy up more real estate properties. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for vendor accounts. There's a time and a place for the non-PG and the EIN only stuff, especially if you're looking to build out things like your Paydex score with Dun & Bradstreet, or if you're looking to build out your FICO SBSS score with SBA so that you can get access to some SBA loans and lines of credit down the line. But again, for the purposes of getting your first $100,000 worth of true cash value business credit, there's no other way around it than leveraging your personal credit so that the banks can give you access to this type of funding. Now, here's the dark truth about banking. Banks are not looking at your Paydex score to determine whether or not they're going to approve you for a credit line with them, because that's known as a non-financial account. Banks are going to take a look at your financial accounts, both on the business side, if you have an Experian and an Equifax score, or on the personal side, which in this case, if you're more of a startup, then obviously they're going to take a look at your personal credit. Now, let me take a quick time out before I move on, because you're probably thinking right now, but Irv, I don't want to have to use my personal credits in order for me to get access to business credit lines. And so here's a quick run through that you want to ask yourself. The first question is your business generating over $3 million over the last 24 months consecutively? If the answer is no, ask yourself this second question. Is your business over 2 years old? If the answer is no to both those questions, then unfortunately, for 99.9% of the businesses that are out there, the business owner will have to co-sign on behalf of the business in order to get access to business credit lines, at least initially when starting out. Now, here's a mental model that a lot of my clients have personally ran through in order for them to kind of overcome that hump of, well, I don't want to co-sign on behalf of the business. Ask yourself, do you plan on purposely being out of business in the next 6 months to 1 year? Because most people that I speak to that say, well, I don't want to personally guarantee on behalf of my business, that's just letting me know off the bat, hey, I don't fully trust myself to scale my business, or I'm not going to try really hard to keep this business going. So I just want to wipe my hands and walk away from this. So it's almost like being 1 foot in and 1 foot out. So this is something that you have to confront. Am I willing to co-sign on behalf of my business by using my personal credit for the betterment of my business and for the future of the income that I'm looking to actually make? Now, key number 2 is knowing exactly how to use your personal credit and what the banks are going to specifically be looking at. So let's break that down. The first thing that you should know is that banks are not going to take a look at your Vantage score. Banks are going to look at your FICO credit profile, specifically your FICO 8 score. Now, here's what you don't want to have. You don't want to have collections. You don't want to have charge-offs. You don't want to have any late payments in the last 24 months. Your inquiries, your hard inquiries for each of the bureaus should be less than 4 hard inquiries, I would say even as low as 3 hard inquiries over the last 6 months. Now, in regards to the profile, which is a snapshot in real time of the business owner's personal finances, your credit mix, you want to have at least 5 revolving accounts on there, with at least one of the accounts having a $10,000 limit on it. And I would say at least 1 to 2 installment loans. You don't need to get too crazy with the installment loans. This can be either a home, this can be a mortgage. Remember, on the personal side, on the FICO, this can be even if you're paying your student loans on time. But if you really want to take this to the next level, you want to make sure that it's a mortgage, or you want to make sure that it's an auto loan, because those are the strongest type of installment loans that a profile can carry. The third key is business bank accounts and how to properly use them. 2 of the most common questions that I hear is, how much money should I have in a business bank account before I apply for a, let's say, business credit line? And how long should that money be in there? So the first answer to that question is however much you would like to put in there. Now, ideally and typically, what we see moves the needle the most is anywhere between 3 to 5K plus. That right there is going to let a bank know that you are deadly serious about doing business with them and partnering with them, which is essentially what you're doing. This also helps offset the age of the LLC. So if you have a newer LLC and maybe it's less than 2 years old, if you have strong cash flow, the bank is going to want to see that. And it's actually going to help, again, move the needle in your favor. The other thing that it helps offset is maybe you don't have A1 credit. So maybe you're not at a 780, 790. Maybe you're closer to like a 710, 720. Guess what? Having that cash flow that you deposit into that account lets a bank know, okay, this is a healthy business when it comes to cash flow. And so you start to kind of play to the strength of your own business. Now, in terms of how long those funds should be in there, typically you want them to be in the account 30 to about 90 days. But again, a good rule of thumb is 30 days and you're off to the races, assuming everything else on your profile is on point, assuming your business is structured correctly. You can then request for the bank to take a look at your file to see, hey, is this something that you guys can approve me for right now? Whether it's equipment financing, whether it's a term loan, whether it's a business line of credit, or something as simple as a business credit card. And lastly, key number 4 is understanding banking partnerships and product selection. Look, as much as I love surfing the web and seeing some of the content that's out there, I know that all content isn't for me. So the reason why I say that is because just because you see a bank that's highly rated and just because you see someone else talking about a bank that they got approved for doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the best option for you and your line of work. So if I have an LLC or a corp, whether it's brand spanking new or I've had it for some time now, the main place that I'm looking at is where I'm currently banking at. Look, even if it's the smallest bank in your town, that's going to be the highest chances of approval that you're going to have because you already have an established partnership with them. And so what I like to do is I like to walk right into a bank and I like to flat out ask them, hey, what type of products do you guys have based on the line of work that I do or how my business is classified? More often than not, especially if you've been banking with them for some time, they're gonna say, man, your file looks good. You've been banking with us on the personal side for, let's say, 10 years. You just opened a business account. Guess what? That still helps the odds of that business getting approved for credit. This is what we have. And so, okay, now you understand I have these options with my local bank, but I wanna take it a step further. The second thing that I like to do, apart from taking a look at where I'm banking first, is I secondly like to ask the newer banks if they like to work with my type of business. The reason why this is an important question to ask is because a lot of times we'll see a video online, we'll try to apply, lo and behold, we get denied. It's not because you're doing anything wrong, but it's because they don't necessarily want to work with the type of business that you have set up. So you want to play to your strongest hand and you want to save yourself some time. You also want to save the banker some time because at the end of the day, time is money. It's a flowing currency, right? So the faster I can find out, hey, do you guys work with this type of business or not? The faster I can move from one lending institution to another, pick 2 or 3 strong lending institutions that are actually going to favor me and what I do, and then have that serious conversation with them of what type of funding options I'll actually have access to so that I can continue to scale my business out properly. If you have a business entity that's under a year old and you're not making 100K yet in that business, odds are you're most likely going to get approved for business credit cards. If your business entity is 1 to 2 years old, then you're most likely going to be able to qualify for things like business lines of credit, business term loans, and business credit cards. And then once your business hits over 2 years old with a consistent revenue of around 10 to 25K a month, which puts you right at $250,000 plus a year, at that point, that's when the floodgates open. That's when you have access to pretty much every single type of business line of credit, equipment financing, SBA business loans, SBA business lines of credit, term loans. Like, the world at that point becomes your oyster, and that's exactly where you want to be. So there you have it. Those are the 4 keys that you can go from 0 to 100K a lot faster without the EIN only BS. Like, that's the real stuff, no fluff, that I wanted to give you in this video today. If you found value in this content today, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. But other than that, all that we ask is that you share this with someone that you know is going to find value and improve their business this year. Much love to you guys. I will see you in the next video.